Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. In the comics, TV, and movies, we'll go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to Queens, New York, in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I am the man without fear, Chris.
And you changed it up on me. I'm your friendly neighborhood Brett.
I did that last week.
I didn't notice. But remember, last week I was very much off my game.
That's true. So, Alliance Assemble. Volume 87. So we have come to the end of a big year for Marvel. You know, coming out of 2020 without anything at that point, and coming in swinging at that point. It's been a good year, Brent.
It has been a wonderful year. You know, just the other day, my wife was wanting to double check something. And she's like, how many days was it again between Far From Home and WandaVision? 563. I did have to double check, but it turns out I remembered correctly. 563 days we went without Marvel content. And then we got 9 Marvel Studios projects. You could make an argument with 10 with Venom with the current status of everything. We've got 10 Marvel related. We got 10 Marvel Multiverse projects. I'm phrasing it that way. What a year. What a year it has been.
Yes, it has been a fun year. So we're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to, the news is light, but we've kind of combined it in what I'd like to call rumors. So we'll march into ending 2021, talking about the rumors for 2022 and beyond. So how has your week been?
Not bad.
How was your Christmas, by the way?
Christmas went well. All things considered, I really can't complain too much. Everybody seems to have had a good time. I know my kids definitely had a lot of fun. We were able to see all the grandparents, and I really can't complain about how Christmas went for us. What about you?
Yeah, it went good. The kids enjoyed it. I mean, the kids have their birthday coming up in a few weeks, so that's the problem with Christmas. They'll constantly get presents for a number of weeks between Christmas and their birthday. So it's
yep. My niece is that way. Her birthday is in 2 days, on the 1st.
Mr. Snell is in the chat. No year comes close to this one. I remember when 2014 and 3 Marvel films, and we were so lucky. Yes, it is a new age for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I remember in 2017 being concerned that Marvel was going to put out 3 MCU movies in 1 year and wondering, can they do that much?
Yes,
turns out, yes, they could, by the way.
Yes, they said this year said hold my beer.
Very much so.
All right, so let us get the network plugs out of the way. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 8 shows coming at you all the time, every single way, which way forward. We've got on Mondays, my show, World's Finest True Believers, alternating bi-weekly with Ranger Alliance. Ranger Alliance dropped their new episode this week. And next week, I come back with a new episode and a new guest, and it is on brand for this show. It is going to be a Marvel arc at that point. So I'll be tweeting out that preview tweet tomorrow or today when you're listening to this. So check out that. Tuesday, they got DC Alliance, Wednesday, Superhero Discussion, Star Wars Alliance on Thursdays, Marvel Alliance on Fridays, a walk through the multiverse bi-weekly on Saturdays, and a slice of film. It is on a current hiatus right now. It'll be coming back at some point, so be on the lookout for that. And on Monday nights, DC Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Star Wars Alliance goes live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on that same feed. And Marvel Alliance, if you're listening to us now, if you're not, we go live on the Geekverse YouTube feed on 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. And all 3 of those shows have solo feeds, so if you just want to listen to those particular shows, in addition or outside of the GUA network feed, we appreciate that. And we've got our Patreon. So if we want to thank our patrons, we can't do this without your support. We've got 2 tiers. $1 tiers are tip jars. Throw a couple of shekels in there saying we're doing a good job. And then we've got our $5 tier, which gives you early access episode, ad-free episodes, and Patreon exclusive content. So be on the lookout. Next year, we're going to be probably hitting that a little bit better, hitting out strong. So be on the lookout for that content, patrons, where we do appreciate that. But if you cannot join us on Patreon, we totally understand. If you can review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever your podcatcher choice may be, we greatly appreciate those 5-star reviews. It helps us get into those algorithms and boost that feed. And as always, we want to plug our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. For all your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs, JP and the crew at OPB have got excellent packaging, ships internationally, continental US. Use that code GUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. Again, thank you, Organic Price Books, for being an official sponsor. All right, so I think those are all the plugs. That's all the paperwork. So, yeah, so we saw, like, for major news this week, wasn't a lot necessarily, but definitely in the last couple of weeks there've been a lot of these rumors flying about with the future projects, future unannounced shows, future castings, possibly characters showing up. So
I thought of one bit of actual
Okay.
true news.
Okay,
I just thought of this and can't believe I didn't think about it earlier. Spider-Man No Way Home crossed $1 billion without
there.
China.
Oh, yep, that's true.
Without China, it is Sony's highest movie to date. Ridiculous. Again,
Yes.
without China. And apparently Encanto's going to China in a couple months. I didn't think anything was going there. But I just thought of that, throwing that in there before we get to this first rumor.
Yeah, it's in just 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, pretty impressive in the idea of what it was able to do. And all right, so let us get into the first one. So if you're watching us on the live feed, you will see the background image. We will be talking about Ghost Rider. So this first scoop, Marvel apparently, at least rumor-wise, Marvel reportedly is in talks with an actor to play the new Ghost Rider. So according to a tweet from scooper Charles Murphy, Marvel Studios is reportedly meeting with an actor to discuss the role of Ghost Rider in the MCU. Presumably, it's an actor whom Murphy previously claimed that Marvel was looking at. He says in his tweet, "I have at no time said Ghost Rider was cast. I did say that they were talking with someone. I said that they would be great if they closed the deal. Please quit attributing this to me. It's false." So people were saying that he had said they've been cast, that he knows who it is. So this started kind of people basically sort of campaigning for themselves a little bit. The Walking Dead star Norman Reedus recently fueled speculation that he may be in talks to play the MCU's Ghost Rider after sharing an Instagram post from at Marvel Movies on Twitter suggesting him for the role. And the last Ghost Rider we did have, Gabriel Luna, who played Robbie Reyes on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., also shared his interest on reprising his role in the MCU as he retweeted the post, the artist Boss Logic calling him for his return. Luna accompanied his retweet with the hashtag "Stay ready so you don't have to get ready," implying that his readiness to reprise the Spirit of Vengeance role. So what do you feel about this? Do you want Gabriel Luna to reprise the role? Would you like to bring in someone new, bring in Johnny Blaze? What's your feeling on Ghost Rider in the MCU?
I'd be totally fine with Gabriel Luna. He was fantastic on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and, broadcast TV budget. They did a really good job with the effects on that character. Like, he looked great. I do like the Norman Reedus one. I mean, I know some people think it's a little too on the nose because they think he'd just be playing Daryl from Walking Dixon. Maybe there's an element of truth to that. And I know Norman Reedus did recently not just do the Instagram post, but he apparently liked a bunch of tweets that were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know. I've seen him in one or two other things besides The Walking Dead. Not really enough to really feel like I know him. But I like him in The Walking Dead. I think he was great as Daryl, or is great as... I don't even know if Daryl's still alive. I gotta assume he is. But I haven't watched Walking Dead in a long time. But that would be really cool. That said, I'm not, like, attached to it the way I would have been, say, Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, just for example. So, I mean, if it's not Reedus, cool. Or if it's Luna, then cool. But if it's somebody totally different from either of those guys, all right, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting when you get into this whole fan casting thing. I occasionally have fan casting, but I really don't get into it that much because 9 times out of 10, it's not going to happen. So, I mean, you can go down the road of, the quote unquote first Ghost Rider in the comics, Johnny Blaze, who we've got their image right, a lot of people, that is their Ghost Rider. My first Ghost Rider was Danny Ketch, which was the second Ghost Rider at that point. You can go even further down, and besides Robbie Reyes, you have Alejandra Jones. This was a Nicaraguan woman who becomes the Ghost Rider through a ritual performed and that took out. And then this is how I was introduced to this in the Marvel Infinite Comics series. Kushala was her parents were killed when attacked by the U.S. Army, and in an act of rage, she prayed to her creator, but instead she was possessed by the spirit of vengeance. Then she burnt everyone until anyone remained there but were spirits. But after becoming possessed by the spirit of vengeance, she traveled the world seeking out and studying different forms of magic in an attempt to cure herself. Her skills in the mystic arts eventually led her to become the Sorcerer Supreme of her era. So imagine that, Ghost Rider and the Sorcerer Supreme.
That could be fun. Wong might have something to say about that, but that could be fun.
And I've always said one of my favorites has been Cosmic Ghost Rider. I don't know if we're going to go with that crazy going out with our first introduction, but we've heard a lot of these rumors before as we start building into Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night, Blade. The MCU is starting to build up their idea of the Midnight Sun. So this is not there's not a new rumor, but it's starting to pick up a lot more steam if they're starting to look at maybe closing the deal on a casting. And it looks like Mr. Snell will be throwing his hat into the ring of possibly. Now, our question for Mr. Snell is, who is his Ghost Rider? Who does he see himself being?
Well, we'll see if he answers here in the next few seconds as the delay catches up with him. But Cosmic Ghost Rider, right? I mean, that could be fun.
A little bit of Frank Castle,
Yeah,
it could be.
I'm not sure I see Travis as Frank Castle, but it could be fun regardless.
Yeah, I mean, where do you see? We've heard some rumors of Ghost Rider making the first appearance in Multiverse of Madness. If not that, where do you see the Spirit of Vengeance joining the MCU?
I mean, everybody thinks, and me included, I don't want to say I'm not one of the people, that something with the Midnight Suns is coming. It certainly feels like they're putting together the setup for that type of team. I mean, it's got to be there, right?
Yeah, it's definitely there. I'm just curious to see if it's where we see. Is it going to be the first time we see it isn't a Midnight Suns project or something else first?
No, we'll see him in like a credit scene first, I think, if not a full blown cameo in a movie. I don't think it's Multiverse of Madness. They would have time to put something in if they already knew what they wanted, if they'd already been working on those special effects. They would have time to do something, but I feel like if it was gonna be that, I think we would have already seen it. Like not seen there'd be more concrete casting news, I think.
Yeah, and again, being the character, it's a CG character in that sense. They're already in the form of the Ghost Rider, so you necessarily don't have to cast someone for it. But I think that they would like to, have someone in place saying, "Hey, that was my first appearance. That was where I started."
I say that, but there hasn't been that many leaks from this movie, and it'd be easy enough to sneak someone into a soundstage like the Volume or whatever, do everything on set, and then sneak them back out.
True. So it will be, as we start building up this kind of darker side of the MCU with Moon Knight, Blade, Werewolf by Night, and including Multiverse Madness. I mean, again, we could see easily Wanda joining the Midnight Suns at that point. Maybe, hey, Strange Supreme.
Yeah, I like the idea of Wanda going with the Midnight Suns. I could also see them like wanting to recruit her and her just wanting nothing to do with them and just smacking them all away. It'll be fun to see if they actually do go down that route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but we'll see. So next rumor, we'll head right into the Multiverse of Madness. This is coming from Fandom Wire. They label this an exclusive. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness to introduce an Inhuman. So, among the many speculations of the film, they say, is the appearance of the Illuminati, the leadership group of Marvel Comics. So, in the past, I think one of the first iterations of when the Illuminati was introduced, it was Professor X, Black Bolt, Namor, Iron Man, and Mr. Fantastic, if I believe.
Did you say Professor X? Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So, yeah, that sounds right.
So one of the potential
Beast joined it eventually.
Yeah, Beast joined it. Black Panther was eventually. Captain America was eventually. So they've had some little bit of rotating members between deaths or people leaving and doing that. So one potential member of the Illuminati is an Inhuman, Black Bolt, and they are saying they are confirming. So again, this is a rumor that the leader of the Inhumans, Black Bolt, will be appearing in the Multiverse of Madness. They say while they are unable to confirm if Anson Mount would be reprising his role from that amazing TV series, it would make sense that Marvel Studios would try to distance themselves from that project. So the Inhumans have been probably the biggest dud of the MCU. Just was not.
If they're in the MCU,
if they're in the MCU, if they even want to be considered at that point. But it did happen. There was an IMAX for those first 2 episodes.
I saw it. I saw it, and I will die on the hill that there was potential after those first couple, and then they just ran it off a cliff.
Yeah, it happened like everything else. It did exist, but they have done so much to do everything possible, including possibly with Miss Marvel, that not being an Inhuman. So,
do we know that about Miss Marvel?
We don't know that officially necessarily, but it's just some of the things might be changing about with it. It would be, again, if we want to reintroduce the Inhumans properly into the MCU under the leadership of Kevin Feige, it could be there, but a lot of signs are saying they're probably not.
I was just wondering, as you were breaking down this rumor, if there's any chance that part of the delay for Ms. Marvel, which at one point there was going to be a 2021 project, if there's any chance for that delay is to work something into it to kind of tie with an Inhuman appearing in Multiverse of Madness first. I don't know. I could see them making that choice.
Like S Bubs in the chat, the Inhumans is the reason the Eternals couldn't go to Hawaii.
I mean, true, but
again, I think that, like you said, those first 2 episodes showed potential. There is a way to bring the Inhumans into the MCU and right a problem that they had with. There are a lot of problems what they did with that show. Namely, one of the things, the big standout. We're gonna shave off Medusa's hair.
Horrible decision.
I mean, I've heard about saving money on CG effects, but my gosh.
But Anson Mount was fine. Like he was fine. There has always been a part of me that liked the idea of Vin Diesel as Black Bolt, just because I think visually he looks like the character, and I think he's built like the character. And I've always been amused at the idea of him voicing a character like Groot, but then also playing a character who can never talk. I think that's kind of funny.
Well, my question is, if this rumor is to be believed and we do introduce Black Bolt, whoever Black Bolt will be traded, or just say any Inhuman, we could be introducing Lockjaw. Why not? If it's an Inhuman at that point, we still haven't introduced the X-Men into the universe. Is it going to be this movie? Are we going to get a reverse House of M situation that we predicted at the end of WandaVision? Is Wanda going to do the reverse this time and bring mutants in at the end of this movie? But we're bringing in possibly the Inhumans before even that. So I don't know if there's a problem with that. Not saying GA can't figure that out, but I just don't know if that's too confusing for 2 things that look pretty similar to the GA.
I think they'd be able to figure it out. I'm pretty much at the point where I no longer think things are too confusing for the GA. 10 years ago, yes. We just had a movie with 3 different Peter Parkers from 3 different eras of Spider-Man movies. I'm willing to give the general audience credit and say that they would be able to figure it out.
Yeah, and again, I'm not the biggest Inhumans fan. I'm more than willing to...
anybody?
Well, let's just say I know why they when they were trying to move the X-Men off the table in the comics. I know, we've gone over and we've talked about why that was in the comics, and whether it comes down to it, X-Men are going to always stand toe to toe with the Inhumans and win out.
Always.
In the sense of popularity.
Always.
So it'll be interesting because, again, from a lot of things we're hearing out of this room-wise, the amount of cameos that are going to be in this movie are going to be insane. And just, again, opening up that multiverse, again, everything and anyone is on a table. So if they want to bring in the humans, if they want to start this idea of the Illuminati in this film, sure, I'm there for it at that point. I would like to see the Inhumans get a better shot.
Yes, and just the Illuminati in general, obviously, it'd be a little different. Tony Stark's not going to be around, but I like the idea. I've always thought that was a cool concept in the comics. The group of people shaping the Marvel Universe behind the scenes. Yes, please, let us see something like that.
Now here's a concept that we kind of talked a lot about during our Eternals review, is the idea of that the Eternals might have been even more better served as a series rather than a movie, just because of how much they had to introduce. I think that's also very true for the Inhumans.
I mean, you could kind of make that argument for everybody. So
okay,
I think it would just come down to the execution, and if the Inhumans is going to try and throw, what was it, like 11 new characters at you, and have 10 of them be considered like more main characters, Black Knight wasn't that main a character.
Yeah.
Then okay, yes, I would totally agree. But if they went slow and just had two to like half the amount, like up to 5 maybe of Inhumans, and then the rest were just background characters, I could see a movie working.
Yeah, you're right. It depends on that. I think they're kind of looked at as they are a royal family of that, and Black Bolt being the head of it. So it's going to be, it was always interesting to me when they started the idea of the project of the TV shows. Okay, how is this going to work with a character that, if they even open their mouth to slightly breathe, wipes out a city, and that again brings in the idea of, what do you do? How do you communicate that? And we saw that with, growing representation, especially with the Eternals. So you can find different ways to do that as well.
Definitely. Absolutely.
So we'll see, again, more and more as we head towards May. We're at Multiverse of Madness. I know we're going to be watching and seeing these rumors continue to drop. Next one, let's go to Sony, because, they're having a bang up, as we talked about, bang up end of the year. So hot off the heels of the success of No Way Home, the rumors of Sony building more in their universe has grown more and more. So this is coming from Screen Geek. Sony reportedly eyeing big names for Black Cat and Spider-Gwen roles. They say it sounds like a new love interest could be making its way into the fold, according to the report from GFR. This is coming from a Giant Freaking Robot. And Giant Freaking Robot is basically our equivalent to We Got This Covered. In my opinion, they get a lot more. It's very clickbaity, a lot of things that are wrong, but like a broken clock, they can sometimes be right twice a day.
Yeah, I pretty much ignore them the vast majority of the time.
But it was an interesting idea, just because this is not the first time we've seen this. They say that Sony is eyeing the Queen's Gambit and the New Mutants and Last Night in Soho star Anya Taylor-Joy for the role of a live-action Felicia Hardy, a.k.a. Black Cat. Trusted Reddit leaker at My Time to Shine, has since corroborated the report. And whoever this person is, he or she, definitely has been picking up a lot of success in the sense of what they're getting right, especially the amount of No Way Home leaks that came out from her or he. Suggesting that there's truth to it, that appears to be the only beginning of Sony's plans. And Daniel RPK also echoed that this is something that he's hearing as well. The leaker also confirmed rumors that Sony is interested in bringing back Emma Stone to play a live-action Spider-Gwen. Stone played Gwen Stacy in the Amazing Spider-Man films alongside Andrew Garfield for several years. However, her character died after falling from a clock and suffered a fatal blow. Well, snapped her neck.
I mean, I saw a meme earlier that says Andrew Garfield, he's good at cracking backs. So
yeah, and necks.
We'll just let that sit there.
So, all right. So we've got two big things. So let's take the Black Cat. Now we've heard, Silver and Black was a film that Sony was looking to bring Silver Sable and Black Cat. That's kind of gone. Sounds like that's gone by the wayside. Black Cat, I think, could be very interesting in the sense of I would have loved it possibly for a Black Cat to come into the MCU in the next trilogy as a as a kind of an interesting love interest for Tom Holland in his new status?
I think that would fit really well. I think they're going to have to be, Marvel's going to have to be careful how they do that because she is effectively Marvel's Catwoman.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about to get a brand new Catwoman here in just a couple months.
True.
But she is a classic, iconic character for Spider-Man. So yes, I definitely am in favor of bringing her in. Anya Taylor-Joy, she's a fantastic, fantastic actress. She is one of the few bright spots in New Mutants, a movie that I did not think was good at all, but I would not lay the blame at her feet.
No.
And she's incredible in The Queen's Gambit, which is the most recent thing I've seen her in. I know she's gotten a lot of praise for her other projects recently, but she would definitely be a get, and I would be in favor of them casting her in a role that was, had some meat on it, that was going to be for several appearances. Get her one of those 4 or 5 movie contracts, those type of things.
Yeah, we just watched Last Night in Soho this week, and I've been a big fan since The Queen's Gambit, but man, she is. Once I kind of seen a lot of seen a number of fan arts like putting her in the Black Cat costume, but seeing her in Last Night in Soho, she can own a room with just kind of that femme fatale kind of demeanor that Felicia Hardy has. And the fact of you could see it in her eyes. She's exactly what it is. But I was thinking about the possibility of her meeting a Spider-Man or Tom Holland. It just goes back to that Ultimate Spider-Man issue when, oh my gosh, and she thinks that she finds out that he's older and finds out that he's a teenager, and she just basically kissed him or made out with him, and then she's just like, oh my God, what did I just do?
I'm now remembering what it was like when she found out that after One More Day, that the spell was different in the comics versus what just happened in the movies, and how she found out because she remembered being intimate with Spider-Man, but could not remember who was under the mask, and it was driving her crazy. And I remember there's a couple issues there. And eventually Peter told her, and we'll see if the movies do this, but in the comics, as soon as he told someone, they got all their memories back and remembered everything they'd ever done involved with Peter Parker. Be interesting if the movies do that. Yes, please. Hire her, cast her in the role of Black Cat, pay her whatever money she's demanding, because she's definitely worth it.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about, I think you and I both think Spider-Gwen is definitely money on the table that they need to be jumping at. What do you think about the idea of bringing back Emma Stone to reprise the role?
If Emma Stone is game for it, then yes, I love it. Fantastic actress, fantastic Gwen Stacy in the first two Amazing Spider-Man movies. I say that like there's a third one. Fantastic actress in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. It would be interesting to see her and Andrew Garfield meet up again. Just to see their reactions to both. I think I heard Travis talking about this on Geekverse. Pointing out that like at least in the comics and in the Spider-Verse movie, Gwen, her big loss wasn't a family member; it was her friend Peter Parker, and that would be really interesting to see these two play off of each other. Where one of their huge losses in life was the variant version of each other. Might be a little complicated considering the actors themselves did have a relationship during the Spider-Man time, and then that obviously fell apart. No idea where that stands. I have no clue where it stands. I'm sure if they were asked by a reporter, everything would be cordial, but I'd be like, for real, where it stands, I have no clue. But if it's possible, if there's even a shot at doing it, they got to take it. They got to at least try, right?
Yeah, I mean, watching Into the Spider-Verse, stole the show. One of the huge bright spots, many bright spots in that, but seeing Spider-Gwen in animation and seeing my daughter try to be Ghost Spider as she watches Spider-Man and the Amazing Friends is rather cute.
Yeah, that they're gonna call her Ghost Spider, which I'm like, I preferred it when she was Spider-Woman. I know her in-universe name was Spider. That Ghost Spider name has just never grown on me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but I'll get over it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's one of the, we're just gonna have to accept the fact that probably gonna be Ghost Spider, but if it can't be Emma Stone, so be it. At that point, it for whatever reason they should bring Spider-Gwen into either Sony. Definitely, someone needs to put it in there. Now, Would I love to see them meet up with Andrew Garfield and just have that kind of connection there? Awesome. That would be great. If we can't have it, I think that I would say even a solo project would just be fine. It would take a lot. It would take basically a very kind of interesting way to flip the script and not say, we don't need a Spider-Man for this one. We're going to be confident in the idea that the audience is going to be interested in this. But with that, if it's not going to be Emma Stone, you need to get a name to bring them in to find, just to get a few more people in the seats.
I kind of like the idea of a solo movie. I mean, yes, I still want, I would love for, especially if it was Emma Stone, to meet Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
But the idea of a solo movie first to establish this character as somebody separate, that would be really interesting.
I think that would state the whole idea that we put the spider in front of it. We do a great kind of teaser at that point and flip the script right then and there, get people interested. Again, it's Spider-Man, but again, I want them to take that chance to say, we don't need to have quote unquote the quote unquote Spider-Man in this. This character is gonna stand on their own feet doing this. We're just gonna have some fun and put it out there. I think I would love if it's gonna be Sony, what they're talking about doing. Great. It's money on the table. They really need to jump at that.
They need to do it while, like you mentioned, the Spider-Verse movies have helped raise the awareness of Spider-Gwen, and the character even beyond that is definitely getting a higher profile. And at the same time, people are feeling the absolute best about Sony Marvel projects that they're probably ever going to feel right now. Like, they're the most open to it. So it's like they definitely need to get after that.
And the good thing is, with at least part one of the Spider-Verse at that point coming in October, Spider-Gwen's going to be a big part of that. It's going to be probably, making it through to part two. Like you said, Spider-Gwen's going to be a big part of the conversation. So the demand will be, let's get her in live action while people are still wanting this.
Absolutely.
So I realized I just skipped the story before that. So let's go right back to what we should have been talking about next. Kraven the Hunter reportedly coming to the MCU. This is coming from the Agents of Fandom podcast. They said, while appearing on the Agents Fandom show, guest TJ Stukes decided to dive into this further idea of contacting a Marvel insider. TJ found out that some interesting facts about Kraven the Hunter and his future with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. While he was unable to confirm what iteration of Kraven we will be seeing, he was able to receive some good news. And they announced that at some point Craven will be appearing in the MCU, not just in the Sony universe. We know that Aaron Taylor Johnson will be donning the mantle of Craven for Sony. What they don't know is if it will be him returning in the MCU. Should it be a Pietro lookalike at that point? This is just interesting when this rumor kind of came out and saying that Craven will be doing now. We will go back to, I can't remember which Sony executive did say it, but saying that it's about trading characters. We borrow one of theirs.
That was like Tim Rothman, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was I can't remember who it was, but I found it interesting that saying that quote, and then a couple days later, this story comes out. So this could be a trading of a character, because we know from other reports that the original idea for Spider-Man 3 involved Kraven the Hunter. At that point, we'd heard that for a while, and then when this idea of the multiverse came about and bringing in certain characters back, that story was put aside. So they do have some sort of, we'll call it, rough outline of what the original third Spider-Man was supposed to be. So that is a very easy thing to work in. And if Sony's going to have their own Kraven the Hunter solo movie, while MCU gets to play with Kraven in a different way with Spider-Man, I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Well, I'm trying to find, did Sony formally announce him, Aaron Taylor Johnson, as being Craven? Or was that just trade reported?
I think that was a trade report at that point, either Variety, Hollywood Reporter, someone higher up made that out. I'm taking a stab at it because I know we covered it on this show.
Well, I'm seeing references that Sony has announced, but
okay.
I'm not finding anything from Sony themselves.
S. Bubs, if he's still in the chat, he'll confirm. I know
he will. He's already filling it in now. Okay, so let's assume that's right. You know, the trades normally get that kind of thing correct, especially when they all start running with it. Mm-hmm. I do not see two different Cravens simultaneously. I don't think he's a character that warrants that kind of spotlight, to be frank. I'm not worried about like people being able to keep up with it. I just don't see it happening. And it seems to me, if they did that, that is a Sony licensed character. So like there'd have to be a deal to, I mean, they could use Craven in a Spider-Man property and it would all be folded up within that, you know, like Mysterio or Green Goblin or whoever. But to put him in a different movie, and I know like at one point Ryan Coogler like said he wanted to use Craven for the first Black Panther movie, for example, and then that never happened. Let's just use that as our hypothetical. Let's say they were going to put Craven in the Black Panther, the next one. I don't really see Marvel like going to bat for Craven, right? Like, it seems odd to me. But if they wanted to approach it the same way that they do approach the Spider-Man movies, where okay, we want to use Craven in Black Panther, and we will let you have someone pop up in the Craven solo movie. You know, we'll let, I don't know. As Bub says, it was Deadline who reported it first.
Thank you.
We'll maybe whoever the new Black Panther is, we presume Shuri, whoever, maybe they'll pop up in the Craven, you know, one for one, like we've been getting with the 3 Spider-Man movies. I'm not going to say it's impossible, and that's actually related to a fact or fiction I'm going to bring up later today. But I think it's more likely that we get, if this Craven shows up in the MCU, I think it's going to be the Sony Universe Craven showing up through multiverse hijinks, through portals, and you know, similar to Tom Hardy's Venom appearing in another MCU, because technically he appeared in an MCU movie, like a definitive one. Maybe it'll be more like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, we did, if you go to that kind of towards the end of No Way Home, we saw, because one of the silhouettes we saw out there was Kraven the Hunter.
Definitely,
at that point.
definitely.
So yeah, no, I'm with you in the sense of if we're going to, Kraven is not one of those we have to have 2 different ones. You know, I know Red Arrow ×3 is asking, like, who would we want to play Kraven? I mean, I'll be honest with you. I did not see Aaron Taylor Johnson, never entered my list of ideas, but I did have an idea of who could.
Go ahead.
Is Manu Bennett could be someone that could do it.
Wow, I like that a lot. That's a really cool idea. Mm-hmm. Do I see him headlining a movie? No, but I don't see Craven headlining a movie. Period. No, if I'm being honest.
I'm still scratching my head. I have a whole solo project with Craven, but again, I will pass judgment when this movie, if and when it does happen at that point. As Bub's saying, Jimmy Kimmel like he's always wanted.
Nope. Just nope.
Travis,
you know what? At least Manu Bennett is like a super nice guy. Like I was lucky enough to meet him with Brock once, and he chatted with us for 10 minutes or so, and he was a really nice guy. It was pretty awesome to meet him. So that would be cool.
Travis Nell says Jack Harvio Bardem. Yep, I've heard. Another one I've heard many, many times for Craven is Jason Momoa, but right now I think he's tied up enough with Aquaman that I don't see him crossing the aisle for something like this.
You know, you say that, but maybe he would because maybe it'd be a smaller part. Not if he's headlining his own movie, but maybe if things get changed and he's just going to appear in other movies. Jason Momoa, I could see it. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, so it would be interesting. You know, like I said, I think Craven, it was a very interesting storyline because the idea of Parker being outed, Craven being out there saying, oh, this is a deadly, prey I can go and take down at that point. It was a good idea for a story for what was scrapped.
All right, I came up with a name,
okay.
And I'm betting no one here is going to recognize it. Christian Camargo, I believe is how you say his name. He played a character named Tamakti Jun on C, the show on Apple TV with Jason Momoa. And so as soon as you said Momoa, I started thinking, well, who else was on C? If you look at this guy's IMDb picture, you'd be like, what are you talking about? What are you smoking and where can I get it?
Yeah,
but if you watch him on C, I think you could know. Well, whatever, pun intended, I think you could see it. And so, like, looking at what they did with his character there, he could be a very imposing, intimidating, threatening character. So I will to answer Red Arrow's question. That's going to be my fan cast.
Gotcha. Fanboy Clay in the chat. Manu was an orc in Lord of the Rings, not headlining. But he has high budget film experience. And S-Bub's dressed like a hunter. I dig it. Momoa.
Reference acknowledged.
Yep. Not Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit. Gotcha.
Same thing.
Yep. Don't tell those Lord of the Rings people. They're gonna cancel you, Brent.
That's fine.
Brian from Dexter. Okay. Yeah.
I would have to look up who that is.
And stamp of approval given some work out of okay. But it's I think that there's potential for it. I don't know. I mean, the good thing is Spider-Man has a huge rogues gallery, so if they're doing some synergy with that, is Sony getting to put out their solo movie and then having them Craven crossover back into the MCU for a part? Okay, but again, we've got a lot of rogues that, because everyone's saying, oh, Craven's Last Hunt. I said, remember in the comics, Craven's Last Hunt took a while to build to. So
apparently the guy I said is Brian from Dexter, the guy from C. Okay,
gotcha.
Had no idea, but awesome.
So they could always do a obviously a homage to Craven's Last Hunt, but again, it took a while to get to that point. Which, you know, people say it's one of the best Spider-Man stories. It is a really focused on Craven as well. It's more Craven sometimes than Spider-Man.
Do you see this suggestion from Red Arrow right now?
I know. I thought if he's suggesting Henry Cavill, why don't we just suggest Charlie Hunnam too?
Oh my god, the meltdown that would happen.
No,
he crossed the aisle to go to Craven.
The meltdown that'll happen just the minute Henry Cavill comes into the MCU.
It will, but my goodness.
Hey, you know what? Sure. Yes, Henry Cavill. I've got to look up whatever the Marvel Encyclopedia says how tall Craven is at that point. I'm very curious to see, because Henry is a very, very tall guy.
I'm not going to let that stop me.
No.
Look at Hugh Jackman and Wolverine. I don't care about that.
Yeah, because I like him in Witcher. I like him in Witcher 2. And I'm just tomorrow I'm going to start season 2, so I'm very excited about that. All right, so let's move on. Actually, we've got to take an ad break. I've not been watching the time, so let us take that first ad break. So listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud, so I'm going to give you a 3 count to turn that volume down before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right, so some more rumors. Let's continue on this lovely rumor train at that point. This is coming from Screen Geek. They call it an exclusive. John Bernthal's Punisher wanted for future Spider-Man movie. The Disney Plus Hawkeye series saw the return of Kingpin, and Spider-Man No Way Home gave us the cameo of Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, meaning these two have now been officially introduced, recanonized into the MCU. They say they have been told that Marvel wants John Bernthal back as the Punisher, and that they want him to return in an upcoming Spider-Man movie with a solo project down the line. It's unknown if Bernthal will be making his return, but it's fair to say that, and I will agree with this, that it is many a fan that want him to return to the character. So Brent puts up his finger like he agrees.
That's my third. That's like, I don't care after that, but that's the third one that I want from Marvel Netflix.
Yeah. So back in 2018, Bernthal stated that he'd be interested in a Punisher Spider-Man team up with Tom Holland. He said, I quote, "I'm in love with Tom Holland. You know what I mean? That's my dude. For me, it's not about, I have no aspirations or desires to do anything besides what I'm doing. I love this character. I believe in him. He's in my bones. I feel honored to play him, and I want to keep playing him. So in all honesty, there's no part of me that says, oh, I hope I'm in the movies. It's whatever I'll be. That being said, there's one character and one actor that I just have to utmost respect for in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and without it's a question, it's Tom."
Yes, that is like the third person that I want, again, because I really want to see Spider-Man and Daredevil with the Punisher take on the Kingpin. I love the idea of it being a Spider-Man movie, just because his first appearance in comic books was in a Spider-Man comic book. I don't remember the issue, but it was a Spider-Man comic book. I can see the cover. I don't know the issue. 140 something? I don't know. Someone look it up. But I know Bernthal has said things like he doesn't want to be a watered down Punisher, and who knows what they could do with the Punisher today. I mean, they're changing his symbol in the comics.
But he's running the hand,
Hydra, or the hand, not Hydra, the hand. Yes, that's Clay says 129 on the first issue of Punisher, so I was wrong on my 140 something. But Amazing Spider-Man 129, thanks Clay. He's just so perfect you are getting out of you have it, don't you? So right now, Chris has left his chair and he's going back to his bookcase and he can't hear anything I'm saying. So this is when I could say all the things I want about Chris, but I'm not going to. But I'm really just stalling for time for him to come back. He's taking a sweet time. Still there. Whatever. I'll keep talking. John Bernthal as the Punisher is perfection, just like D'Onofrio, just like Charlie Cox. So I don't care. Bring him back. Make it a Spider-Man project. You're back, but you didn't bring anything with you, so that was anticlimactic.
Nope. Sorry. I thought one of the Omni covers had it. Nope. I don't. I thought I did. But
what do you think about this rumor?
I mean, I love John Bernthal. I love the Punisher. It's probably, it's in my top 3 of the Netflix shows easily. He really, from what he did in Walking Dead.
Yes, Shane. Yes.
Yeah. Just because I was out, what I saw there, I said, he can bring so much more to this part. So much more to this part. And the problem with Punisher that people always think, like, oh, he's such a one-note character. Oh my gosh, like he brought depth to the Punisher character that really honored the character of what people like, some of the best Punisher writers, namely Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon, had brought to that character in the modern age. I would love to have him come back. I would, again, as Feige said, if there is a person that's already perfect for this part, yeah, let him come back. And with if rumors are to believe, with the actress who played Colleen Wynn, said that Charlie Cox had known he'd be returning to the MCU for the last couple of years. Maybe this is also already in the works, that Bernthal is already been given the tap saying, "Hey, you're being brought back in. We're just working out the details."
Yeah, I have no idea how much credibility to give to Screen Geek. I have no clue.
I don't, yeah.
But, if it's a rumor show, so we're talking about it. And yeah, Jessica Henwick, Colleen Wing from Iron Fist and the Defenders, she did say that Charlie Cox found out, years before. He was probably told, you will have a part when the Netflix show ended. Because she said it was, a couple years before, which you track that back, that'd be around to when the Netflix show got canceled. She herself said that, because she was up for a role in Shang-Chi. Mm-hmm. I believe it was coming down to auditioning for Shang-Chi or the new Matrix movie, and she went Matrix because she didn't want to give up on the possibility of playing Colleen Wing in the future. And so, yes, but I would be very happy to have her back as well. I mean, again, I will say it until they're recast. I would be fine with everybody on the Defenders. The whole Netflix show. I'd be fine with them all. Just please, Finn Jones, get some motivation to do something if you're going to be brought back. He's probably the last person they actually would bring back.
Yeah, I don't see them bringing him back.
But, I mean, John Bernthal, if you go and you watch, his episodes of Daredevil Season 2 or The Punisher 2 seasons, it's just so good. And he's so good in the role. It's right now I struggle to imagine someone else in that part. Obviously, yes, somebody else can play him. I just have a hard time seeing it today.
It is something that, again, the fact that we brought back, Vincent D'Onofrio, we brought back Charlie Cox, bring back. I mean, we've heard the rumors that, actresses, Kristen from Jessica Jones, who played Jessica Jones.
Kristen Ritter
is possibly coming back to the MCU in She-Hulk, if those rumors are believed. So,
at this point, I'm starting to, I always say all things being equal, sure, make the Netflix stuff canon because that was great television. For the most part, Jessica Jones Season 3, I really didn't think was good. There's a couple others that were not so hot, but in general, for the majority of it, it was good to great television.
Yeah.
I'm kind of starting to think Make it canon because that makes it more likely that you offer the parts back to these actors who were so good in the roles. Because Christian Ritter, Mike Coulter, as Luke Cage, he was a great Luke Cage. Very. It's like nothing against him. I'd be thrilled for him to come back. So by all means, and yes, please just do it. And I know I've talked about them. I know all the business reasons of why they maybe wouldn't want to make it canon. Because why do you want to push somebody to one of your rivals? But they could just use all of them and, they could just never contradict it. And that'd be fine too. But stick with this cast. I mean, they're killer. And I'm sorry to like the other properties, but like Cloak and Dagger, I liked. The Runaways, I liked. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I really, really enjoyed that. I don't feel the same way about like anybody from those shows. Like Cloak and Dagger, recast, I don't care, whatever. The Runaways, recast, I don't care, whatever. But the Netflix shows, like the casting was just so on point. That it would be a shame to, granted, if the actor or actress didn't want to do it, that's one thing. But if, like Jessica Henwick, for example, she wants to be Colleen Wing again, it would be a shame for them to bring someone else in to play that part.
Yeah, again, if they had this love for the character, do it, bring them back. And so, yeah, bring back these characters, even if they just bring some of the idea of what they did in the Netflix series canon. It doesn't have to be everything. Some of it, just like. It's okay if the business dealings are going to allow it, great. If not, so be it. We've got these characters back that have embodied these characters for enough years that they already there's no homework they have to do. They've got the part down. But yeah, I think if Marvel, in the comics is getting back to reclaiming Punisher in a different way, bring him into the MCU. There's a lot of stuff to be said, even though they say sometimes the comics don't communicate necessarily. They don't communicate with the movie side, TV side, things like that. I hear that. I say, okay, but there's enough smoke there that said, yeah, but there's some synergy, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. But and so yeah, bring back the Punisher, bring this back into the MCU. I want them to continue to prove that they can do this. And again, I think one of the first series that's going to see how gritty the MCU can get is Moon Knight. If that takes off and they go gritty on that show as they should, that's going to open up a lot of doors to say the MCU can do a little bit more.
Yeah, so. Completely agree.
All right, so I think if my notes are correctly, the last rumor, and it's just basically kind of a headline coming from Daniel RPK. He put this out on his Patreon. Venom 3 exploring the multiverse and finding and introducing and fighting Spider-Man, and Spider-Man would be played by Andrew Garfield. So, he wanted to fight an alien. He said he wants to fight an alien in No Way Home. So, what do you feel about that?
Let's go ahead and mention that listener JDP had asked what we think of the idea of Garfield being brought back and who would we want him to fight. I'm just going to bring that question up now because otherwise we're going to repeat ourselves. I love the idea of that Spider-Man, of Andrew Garfield, of Peter 3 fighting Tom Hardy's Venom. I think it works. Sorry, Snell, just quit listening. I think it works. I think it would fit. Andrew's Spider-Man is probably the funniest of the three Spider-Mans. Like when he's in the costume and the quips and stuff that he has, I could see that playing off the symbiote pretty well. I would want different writers. Let me be clear. I would not want the Venom writers, Hardy himself and whoever else.
50 Shades of Grey.
I could see that. The other, to answer his question of who else would we want him to fight, I would say somebody like Hammerhead or Tombstone, get like a gangster type thing. I think that'd be fun too. But Venom would be great. Venom and Andrew. Yes, please. Make it happen.
Yeah, I've seen some of the fan art posters that have come out a lot this week, based off that rumor of like him in the costume or him kind of half and half at that point. I mean, he did say he stopped pulling his punches. So what better way to kind of delve really deeper into those dark urges than a costume like that we saw. Yeah, it may not have been the most celebrated one, but we saw even in the comics that symbiote does some things to Spider-Man that gives into those dark urges. And I forget, have you read Sinister Spider or the Darsky What If series? Spider Shadow.
No, I was waiting for it to all hit Marvel Unlimited, and the last issue is out, and it's been there for a little while. And I just haven't got to it yet. But gotcha. not the only time Zdarsky will come up. I feel like based on his Daredevil run, I am probably going to appreciate this as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like, if we're gonna get a Spider-Man 3 and people say, oh, well, they did this alien costume with, that, Tobey Maguire at that point. Okay, so what? If it's gonna be Venom 3 bringing in Spider-Man at that point, sure, let's finally do that. Let's get that logo on the chest instead of all the white veins and have some fun with it. One more outing.
Kevin Feige has publicly said, like, he did not want to retread the ground that Sony did with, like, the same villains and everything, which is kind of funny how it ended up, because they literally had the same villains in the third one. Sony doesn't have that problem, like, right? Like, they just, Tobey Maguire's trilogy was done. They just up and rebooted, told a different take on effectively the same story. Great, no problem. So I don't really see, just because we've already seen Spider-Man versus Venom once, I don't see that being the holdup here. And this could be a really, really fun movie. And on top of that, kind of like we were saying, they need to capitalize on the whole Spider-Gwen stuff. They need to capitalize on Andrew Garfield. Like, people are starting to realize that for any of the problems that his movies had, it's not him. It was never him. And even people who did feel that way are now at the point where they're like, well, with a better script, with being treated better, with better, whatever the case, whatever qualifier they want to give, Andrew Garfield, his popularity as Spider-Man has never been higher than it is right now. This is definitely the time. They should at least, does he want to come back? I don't know, because we know the character meant a lot to him personally, and it definitely, they went through a bad breakup. I don't know if he'd want to come back again, but the fact that he did for No Way Home tells me he'd probably at least take the conversation. He'd take the meeting, right, and see where it would go. They got to try. They have to try to capitalize on this.
Mm-hmm. It's again, money on the table. If any of them come back at that point, what they're wanting to do, we talked about it, I think, last week, saying, coming back for Secret Wars. So that's a long ways down the line if that project exists,
right?
To wait for it. We'll be happy to see him back, yeah, but again, it's going to be like, why wait that long? Again, strike while the iron's hot, bring him in there. If Venom 3 is going to finally open the doors, and again, we see when Morbius comes out, the future leader of the Avengers, Morbius, at that point, where we've seen that poster that has Spider-Man on it, says murderer. Which one is it?
It'd be pretty awesome if that poster was changed for the actual Morbius release to be a shot of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And he said he stopped pulling his punches. No, I don't want Spider-Man to be a murderer, but him having that reputation, I mean, that's classic Spider-Man storytelling, right? Like him being blamed and stuff. So sorry, Snell, again, quit listening still. I think it would fit. I think I think the Amazing Universe would fit with the Venom universe, and they could just make it one without jumping through a lot of hoops outside whatever is happening with Adrian Toomes, because I have no clue what the situation will be there. But maybe that's a variant of Adrian Toomes. I don't know. But to me, it's a good idea. They should do it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know where, again, with Venom, Let There Be Carnage just already being done at that point. The home release has already come out in the last week. So it was successful in a pandemic environment, much surprisingly success as much as it was at that point. So the idea that Venom 3 is going to be greenlit, it's a question of what are they going to do? I think it's finally time to bring in Spider-Man. If they're going to let them do it, then bring in Tobey, bring in Andrew. Again, I think both of us are saying bring in Andrew for this one. It would be very much... It'll probably be, at that point, if they do bring in Andrew, it will be the most successful of that trilogy. Guaranteed. Absolutely guaranteed.
Considering the crowd reactions that happened when the credit scene occurred for Venom Let There Be Carnage, and people were just teased with seeing this Venom and a new Spider-Man, it's time. It is time. It's now. It's got to be now. Like, Venom, the Venom character, say what you want about the movies, but he is more popular than he has been. Mm-hmm. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is more popular than he has been. And I gotta think at this point, like I never heard anything about clauses of like if they were doing Spider-Man Tom Holland in the MCU that Sony would not use Spider-Man elsewhere. Maybe gentleman's agreement or whatever, but I never heard of anything legally. But you gotta assume that right now, the Marvel side of that would be okay with it, and that if they could pull it off in the same movie and people could tell the difference, they could also tell the difference in separate movies.
And especially since, the post credits being that we've got a symbiote wandering now around in the MCU, it gives them some time to figure out how they want to do that in the MCU. I don't think it's ever happened, but correct me if I'm wrong, has there ever been a credit sequence that teases something like this nature not get a payoff?
Oh, man. I don't think there's ever been a credit sequence that was teasing something that didn't have. I mean, yeah, the comedy ones, sure, but
I'm not talking
but
about.
But the ones that tease something, they've all paid off. I can't think of any that didn't pay off.
The one we were wondering about all this time, one of the ones we were wondering all this time, got confirmed with the casting of Adam Warlock. That one was really left out there, and James Gunn denied it up and down that it ever was going to happen until the casting happened.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember what the other 4 were for that movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was the Kraven with the arrow one. There was the Watchers one. They were like joke ones, but that one felt like a tease. And as Bubs, Adam Warlock will take over 5 years to pay off. Sure, because it's happening in Guardians, and we all know why Guardians 3 is going to come out so much later than Guardians 2.
But still, the payoff happened. The payoff's going to happen.
But the payoff is going to... No, I think they've all been paid off. So we will see something with that symbiote, provided this could be the big asterisk, provided that Marvel and Sony have a continuing deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's the thing, like you said, provided that, but the fact that was a joint project that allowed that to happen says there has to have been something in place to allow that to say, oh, we're just going to leave that there and let you do it. No, that's dumb.
And they haven't they haven't formally announced anything yet, and I'm still waiting for that. But both Feige and Pascal have said, we're working together. It's great. We're doing more. So it's definitely more likely than not.
Yeah. So, but all right. I hope you all enjoyed this lovely rumor train at that point. And people say, well, you talk about rumors on the show all the time. Yeah, but not to this extent. Some of these probably wouldn't make our cut.
Not from Giant Freaking Robot or whatever they're called.
Yep. I think it was just too good not to pass up at that point. So, all right. So let's take an ad break as we transition to feedback from last week and listener questions. It feels good to say that. Feedback from last week and listener questions. God, it's good to be back to that.
It is. No more spoiler version here.
Exactly. So, all right. So, listeners, again, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. So, I'll give you that 3 count to turn that volume down. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And I see Phil Barker's in the chat. Hi, Phil. Thanks for joining us at that point. As he says, it's also good to know that Kevin Feige and Pascal are working together. Yep, we'll hopefully keep that going. So, all right. So we had you put out the usual call for questions. You shown the Spidey signal at that point, and we got some interesting ones.
Yeah, we had the aforementioned one from JDP, and then we had this one from apparently Bruce Wayne at D Smith with 2 H's 1129 on Twitter. Is Captain America alive? Will we see Rogers again? And if so, where do you think we will see him?
Well, he's on the moon, as many people have said at that point. Earlier this year, we did hear, from the trade. I can't remember which trade, with Deadline, Variety, Hollywood Reporter, said that Chris Evans was coming back at that point. In what capacity, it was not said.
Human Torch.
Again, I put that in our GUA chat. The portal opens and we see.
I mean, there's like the meme going around of like, just imagine a multiverse of madness. Portal opens, Chris Evans walks out, and he says, "Flame on." So it's like, yes, I'm into it. Do it, make it happen.
Yes, it'll be fun. I've been doing this for a while, and I'm not the only one who says it. Yeah, bring back Steve Rogers, but bring back Hail Hydra.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Where are we going to see him again? My initial thought, Human Torch jokes aside, but Steve Rogers was Captain America 4. That was my initial thought. Mm-hmm. But then I started to wonder, would that take away from Sam Wilson? Would that take away from Anthony Mackie, suiting up as Captain America in the movies for the first time? I don't know.
I say yes, it would. If he's going to stand, as I said before, Captain America 4 is a Sam Wilson movie. It needs to be. That whole part of Steve's shadow was all It was all Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That was a big part of that series. Okay, we're done with that. Captain America 4 is Sam being Captain America all on his own, and what comes with that.
I could maybe see something where he's still Old Man Steve. Like,
Okay.
how great would a scene be of just like Sam, Bucky, and Old Man Steve sitting around talking?
True. Yeah.
Something like that. But like, if he was actually going to be in action, wear the Super Soldier Shield costume again, basically the Winter Soldier costume again.
Mm-hmm.
If he was going to be in action, I agree. I think that would overshadow Sam. Other than that, I don't. Right now, I can't think of any properties that we know about officially that he makes a lot of sense in the pop up. At least today. Maybe that'll change. But
Secret Invasion, maybe.
Maybe as like a scroll or something. Maybe, but
And again, everyone's a scroll now.
So all right. Secret Invasion. I'll go with you there.
So, all right, what do we got next?
Tim Rooney. Does the
Okay.
Thing have rock genitalia? Well, Tim Rooney, thank you for the very serious question. Greatly appreciate that.
He did call you out. You did say any Marvel
I did,
questions.
and I should have known what I was getting when I saw the notification from Tim. Yes, I'm gonna go with yes and leave it at that.
I will go with yes at that point, and I point to the scene from Mallrats, even though I did that to you online, Tim. Everyone, just do yourself some homework. Watch Mallrats, and this is a straight off the cup. Yeah, I will go with yes. Simply yes, he does.
I feel like there's a kidney stone joke in there somewhere, but I'm gonna let it go.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm gonna let it go. Tim Rooney did also ask what we think about Spider-Man life story, and unfortunately, written by Chip Zdarsky and penciled by Mark Bagley, my favorite Spider-Man artist. Neither of us have actually read it. It's been on the I need to get to this someday list for a long time. It's in my Marvel Unlimited library. I just haven't been like, all right, today's the day, and started it yet.
Yeah, today I've been really good on my break to get a lot of good reading in at that point, but today was World's Finest True Believers research time for me, so I needed to build up for a show I'm recording next week. I needed to get that done. So I've done how I've avoided, and this is kind of a tangent going off it there, I've really tried to avoid burnout reading. And in the sense of last week, I read 49 issues of The Immortal Hulk because I wanted to. And I've been, I'm waiting for that.
I still can't believe you didn't just wait for 50 to drop at this point.
No, because I knew it was coming soon. So
and you had the time.
And I had the time at that point. So, but after that, I said, okay, I don't want to do 49 issues of something again. So I'll do kind of a easy wrap up. So I read the series by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora, Klaus. I read those three graphic novels really quick, easy at that point. So now gonna
easy
look
from Grant Morrison.
Yes, very actually,
interesting.
Quite reachable. I know it says a lot. So finding a way to kind of delve into maybe my next one's going to be DC or maybe a longer Image title. Like I'm right now working my way through the TMNT series from IDW. So
I don't remember why, but at some point I fell off of that. But I got 30 issues in or whatever, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, so I'm on issue 7 or 8, so I'm kind of working that in, and so it's helping me really avoid reader burnout. So life story, yes, I have read Fantastic Four life story.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've known about Spider-Man life story, yes, Fantastic Four does not hold a candle to Spider-Man. However, it was quite an interesting take to see the Fantastic Four go from the beginning up until modern day. That was a really fascinating journey.
So you're telling me I should read that one too?
I read it, but again, you have to read Spider-Man first.
Well, I just added Slott's run of Fantastic Four to my to my library, which I read the first couple and, didn't grab me too much, but I got teased by news of some upcoming story arc. It's like, oh, you've got my attention, so maybe I'll check out some more of it.
Let's just say this. If would Fantastic Four Life Story be something I would immediately recommend to someone? No, because I've never been the biggest Fantastic Four fan. I know I've kept up with them, read stories like this every once in a while, but they're not ones that you would ever see in my Marvel Unlimited library, just because it's not the biggest thing. So if you're looking for a 6-7 issue series at that point that you just want to be open and done with, yeah, go for it. But read, even though haven't read it yet, but I can guarantee you with Zdarsky, Bagley on it, it's gold. It's going to be gold. So sorry, Tim. We'll get back to it when we both have finally read it. It's coming up someday.
Maybe sooner than later. And then from the Academy Rewind podcast, Palmer specifically, whom, well, we have fun conversations sometimes. He says, shouldn't they have put Mephisto in the new Spider-Man movie instead of Doctor Strange to bring the movie closer to classically critically...
Wait a minute, hashtag Mephisto confirmed?
Mephisto confirmed. To bring the movie closer to the classic, critically acclaimed One More Day storyline. Well, Palmer, no. No, they shouldn't have. Request denied.
Stop it. No.
he does he likes to troll me with those kind of little things. But it's all in good fun.
Yes, it is. Pop this up here. Red Arrow ×3 says Steve Rogers coming back is too soon. They should wait a while and give the light to Sam right now. Yeah, I think that was more surprising to us when we broke that news when it came out that Chris Evans would be coming back to possibly Steve Rogers and portraying something. So I will say I'm very confident that Sam's Captain America 4 will be a Sam movie without a Steve Rogers being necessary. So, but all right, so those are all the questions.
Yep, that's it.
All right, so let me move on to Factor Fictions from last week. So we got some polls, put them out there. So here we go. Here's what the listeners thought and the Twitter followers thought. So number one, we will see different live action Spider-Verse characters in the MCU beyond just Tobey or Andrew Spider-Man. 77% said fact, 23% said fiction. Number two, we will see a team up of Daredevil and Spider-Man in the next MCU Spider-Man trilogy. 86% said fact, 14% said fiction. And finally, we will see one villain that was showcased in a prior Spider-Man film, example Green Goblin, and two villains never before seen in the movies, example Kraven the Hunter, in the next MCU trilogy, Spider-Man trilogy. And yes, 88% said fact, 12% said fiction. So those are the Factor Fictions. Oh, before you got yours, what is Clay saying in the chat, Fanboy Clay?
Clay said, with the MCU going supernatural and with No Way Home making some of the memes come to life, how soon do we see Mephisto in the MCU? I would honestly, all joking aside, say if he doesn't have a cameo in Multiverse of Madness, I think it'll be a long time.
I will say, here, how about this? It won't be in Multiverse of Madness. It'll be in a Midnight Suns project.
Yeah,
it'll be in a Midnight Suns centric project. It may not be titled Midnight Suns, but it'll be in
something with those characters.
One of those characters.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Watch us be completely off, and it's like She-Hulk or something like that.
Why not? Just totally go off base at that point. How about this? That's going to be a series that breaks the fourth wall. Have someone just walk around in a devil costume at that point and say, see, there it is. There's Mephisto.
Hashtag Mephisto. Credit scene, Mephisto, and then Deadpool walks up. Mephisto confirmed.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right, so Factor Fictions for you. Close us out of Factor Fictions for 2021, Brent.
All right, first one that has been on my list of possibles since September. Shang-Chi will appear in Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness.
I will say fiction. Just not, again, would I love to see it? Yes. I don't think you need Shang-Chi in this movie.
I ultimately am going to have to concur with that. Initially I thought, well, maybe with Wong and stuff and the way they were recruiting him, but I Ultimately, I'm gonna say fiction, but I would love for it to be fact.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be a massive role. Just a little cameo, just a little pop up. Hey, we need to check out those rings again for something. But ultimately, I am gonna go with fiction.
Yeah, Philip Barker disagrees with us, saying fact. Red Arrow says fiction, so we're dividing the audience at that point. Again,
one of you is right.
Yeah, exactly. Would Heart wants it, head saying no, not right now.
All right, number 2, Kazi will appear in Echo, meaning he did not die in Hawkeye.
Yeah, we didn't.
If you go back and look, you don't really like. It kind of cuts away. Like the way it was all left, it was a little ambiguous. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put this in there.
Yeah, Kazi coming back. Yeah, I could see that being kind of a episode 3 or 4 kind of thing, like coming back to kind of take revenge, or using it. Kingpin coming back and using him at that point. So yeah, sure.
I think this one's a fact, and I could see him going more with the clown persona from the Hawkeye comic books at this point, and almost using it as a way to surprise Echo, where she would not realize it was him at first.
True.
All right, last one. Sony and Marvel Studios will formally partner on a movie that does not star Tom Holland.
So it's just like a project with the Spider-Man character.
We're getting a Marvel Studios movie with a Sony character that's not Tom Holland.
Yeah, sure, fact. Why not? If it works so well with this one, it's we can do it again.
I actually think it's a fact too. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Probably not Craven, but maybe.
No, jackpot, baby,
jackpot. I really do think it's going to happen. I actually feel like an Andrew Garfield movie might be the best shot.
Philip Barker, I like it. Spider-Woman.
Spider-Woman, yeah, I could definitely get behind that. But regardless of what it is, Tom Holland might appear, but I don't think it will star Tom Holland.
Going to bringing it back to Spider-Woman at that point, I thought we've heard rumors of which Spider-Woman this is going to be, versus I've heard Jessica Drew or something being used in Secret Invasion.
Well, my understanding is was it that the way the deal got split up, that if they weren't playing nice together, that Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, could be used at Sony, but only Jessica Drew, like the double/triple agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra, and whatever else, could be used on the Marvel side, not the Spider-Woman persona from it. I don't know. And then I'm now thinking there's that Olivia Wilde Spider-Woman movie, which we haven't heard anything about in a long time, but she had those comments of Kevin getting mad or whatever if she said too much. I think it's a fact. I think Spider-Woman's a good call. Maybe it'll be the Olivia Wilde Spider-Woman.
Yeah, sure. Yep. So fact for that one. So yeah, so I will post those on Sunday afternoon. So be on the lookout for that and vote your hearts at that point. Vote your minds. Let us know what you think. We'll look at results next week. So, all right. So before we get to Comic Book Club, we promised you that, it's time for the listeners. We promised you this. So it didn't take too long to come up with this idea of coming up. No. So the Comic Book Club theme for the voting will be Marvel Knights. So we have chosen 4 stories of either that have had the designation of Marvel Knights, or the character themselves has been designated at one time or another under the banner of Marvel Knights. So the first story, the first choice will be Daredevil Born Again, issues 226 to 233. This is considered one, if not the best storyline within the Daredevil mythos. Written by Frank Miller and drawn by David Mazzucchelli, the story details Daredevil's descent into insanity and destruction at the Kingpin's hands due to the betrayal from one of his closest friends, as well as a subsequent struggle to build a new life for himself. This is currently right now free. The collection is free on Comixology Unlimited, and all these stories can be found that we're going to go over on Marvel Unlimited. But this one, Daredevil Born Again, is on Comixology Unlimited right now. Have you read this before?
Yeah, but it's been a really long time.
Gotcha.
But I have read it, yes.
All right, the next choice is Punisher, Welcome Back Frank, from 2000 to 2001, a 12-issue series written by Garth Ennis and drawn by Stephen Dillon. They bring Frank Castle back to relevance. Not everyone is happy about Frank's return. Two unlucky cops have drawn the unenviable task of capturing him, while the ruthless mobster Magunucci and her gang will stop at nothing to see him dead. The Punisher must also contend with a colorful crew of nosy neighbors and the arrival of three copycats, the Holy Elite and Mr. Payback, who want him to join their crime-cleansing force. Welcome back, Frank. This is, as I said, also on Marvel Unlimited. However, it is currently $19.99 on Comixology. And our third choice will be Wolverine, Enemy of the State / Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is Volume 3 in 2003, issues 20 to 32. Written by Mark Miller and drawn by John Romita Jr., brainwashed by the ninjas of the hand, Wolverine slices and dices his way through the foes and friends alike, ultimately resulting in a major ally's death. Can anything be done to stop him or bring him back from the brink? This is currently free on Comixology Unlimited, those issues. And our last choice is one that you put out there because I was having trouble finding a fourth that was good. And this was one that you brought forward: Daredevil, Spider-Man, 2001, 4 issues. This is written by Paul Jenkins and drawn by Phil Winslet. Spider-Man and Daredevil are friends. Daredevil knows that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and Spider-Man knows Matt Murdock is Daredevil. Now, both heroes find themselves caught at the crossroads of their vengeance, forced into a position of protecting the kingpin of crime from an enemy that they never imagined. So it's 4 issues. Each issue is $1.99 on Comixology right now. So we got some good ones. I have not personally read Spider-Man 4 issues, the 4-issue one, and I've only read some of Welcome Back, Frank.
I've not. I don't think I've read Welcome Back, Frank. I've read. I've read most, if not all, of Wolverine: Enemy of the State. I want to say I've read it all, but both with that and the Daredevil Spider-Man crossover 4 issues, have not read since they were coming out or shortly thereafter. So I don't. I know I've read them. I don't really remember the story that well.
Well, yeah, so I'll put this out also on Sunday afternoon. So again, we'll let that poll go as long as possible. But next week we will let you know what the choice was, what the winner was, and that will be at the conclusion of next week. We'll bring Hawkeye to a close. We will let you know which one of those series won out at that point. And yeah, it's gonna be good. Bring it back to the street. We'll continue on the street since Hawkeye's basically on the street. We'll continue with our street level heroes.
Yep, it works. And kind of initially when I proposed something along these lines, it was well, I'm just thinking Kingpin is back, Daredevil is back. What's a theme that could encapsulate some of them? You mentioned Marvel Knights. Perfect.
Yep, exactly. So, all right. So we've got our penultimate discussion on Hawkeye. So starting with issue 19 of the series. So what did you think about this? And this was a very interesting issue. I know the last issues we were not too high up on necessarily, but this one definitely was a comeback to form.
Well, it's finally picking back up with Clint after he was injured, and it was. I liked it, and I liked how it transitioned from sort of what he was trying to hear other people say to him, looking at the sign language, to full on just other people having conversations, verbal conversations. I liked it a lot. I thought it was great. I loved it when he basically rallied the troops, rallied at the end, everybody from the building, put them all together. This was nice. It would have been nice if we had, gotten it a couple issues earlier or whatever and didn't have that random dream one, but I like this one quite a bit.
I particularly like the scene where, Barney and him are on the roof and basically Barney's knocking some sense into him, saying, "Are you just gonna sit there and mope about, or are you gonna do something about it? You can read lips. I know you can. You did it as a kid. Get it through your head. Get off your butt and get it together. Especially beating his brother up. They're trying to literally knock some sense into him. So." Yeah, the rally of the troops thing was interesting, and I love it that they put into the panels little sign language.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and I love the idea that as he's rallying the troops, him and Barney are taking it to the tracksuits, and as they're rallying the troops, you see both of them burning down cars, beating up the tracksuits, going into these clubs. And I love it that he at the end, he's calling Jess, says, "Sorry, I need your help. I need everyone's help. We went and found a little trouble tonight."
Just a little. That's all. No big deal.
So, yeah, this is coming to a very big, I'm already sensing a big fight coming as a result of this. So, any other big moments from this issue before we head back to the West Coast with Kate?
No, I'd say that covered it for me.
All right, so Kate on the West Coast, she is left in a pretty big predicament, being that the guy that she keeps on seeing in the store has been killed, and we start seeing that Madame Mask has come back really to the forefront and coming after Kate hard.
Yep. Yeah, this has been a good story for Kate, but I do miss her presence with the Clint side. Like I do feel like it lost a little something when they got split up and when they left. So I gotta presume at this point that they are going to come back together for the final issue or the final two issues, especially based on how this one ended with her seemingly going back, assuming she's able to make it out of LA because she was allegedly cursed or whatever. I look forward to seeing that, but it has not been a bad story arc.
No, it hasn't. It was rather humorous of her portraying the female getting sushi eaten off of them by these interesting individuals as as she basically says, if I catch any one of you looking at me at this point, you'll basically be dead. But she, even though she has gotten her training and things like that, she's not perfect. Just like Clint.
No.
Like she very much is like Clint in the sense of like, yeah, their cockiness can sometimes get the better of them. However, when she gets down to knowing Madame Mask is in on this whole thing, that she goes after him and goes after him hard, takes down her place, goes after all the different people. When she finds out basically that the guy really isn't dead from the convenience store, and they bring this whole idea, oh yeah, they've been dealing in bodies all the time to kind of move consciousness back so the rich can continue to staying rich and alive forever.
Yeah, totally normal, standard operating procedure. Yeah.
But the big shocking fact is that her father is on Madame Mask's payroll.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, her calling her dad as she's heading back saying, I don't want anything from you. I'm just telling you, you're going down. This whole operation is going down. You're going down with it.
Pretty much. Be nice to see that confrontation.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we will bring this series to a close next week, and we will see exactly how this all shakes out for the Hawkeyes, as it were. But all right. So Volume 87 in the books. We bring 2021 to Marvel Alliance to close. But before we say our goodbyes, I know Brent will echo this, but I'll start it off by saying, listeners, viewers, thank you. Thank you so much for making this year a bang-up year for us as Marvel Alliance. From, the shows at that point, we said goodbye to Mr. Snell. We welcoming Brent into the show at that point. It's been a fun year. It's been a really, really great ride. And the fact that you all, from the listeners who've been with us since the beginning to the listeners that have just recently joined us, you have all made this show really a fun time to us to look forward to every week. We appreciate it. We look forward to next year at that point, but I cannot say thank you enough for making Marvel Alliance a really big thing for us every week to do the show.
Yes, absolutely. Special thank you for everybody welcoming me to attempt to fill Travis's microphone, if you will. I was looking it up, and I joined it, and it was at the end of March. It was issue episode 42. So I've been around for half the run of the show overall, but it's been a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun to have this show and to talk with the listeners and going through all the Disney Plus shows and everything weekly. So yes, I agreed. Thank you so much for an awesome 2021 from the podcast standpoint, and looking forward to next year as well.
Yes, let's do this. So let us bring this episode to a close. So again, we want to thank our sponsor, organicpricebooks.com, for all the Omnibus Collected Edition needs. Use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. Again, thank you for being a sponsor to the show. And I saw someone. Oh, never mind. But yeah, Brent, tell people how they can follow you and plug your show.
Sure, Brentak Prime on Twitter, same on TikTok. Been having fun screwing around with that app. Other shows, Fans Without Borders. Our next episode will be our annual Unpopular Opinion. So you have a few more days from the time you hear this. If you want to submit one to me to be read on Fans Without Borders, send it in.
Definitely. And so you can find me on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can follow my other show, World's Finest True Believers, at Finest Believers. You can follow this show on Twitter at Marvel 8 Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions. Continue to rate and review Marvel Alliance on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whichever platform of choice may be. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe out there. Happy New Year, everyone. Be safe. We've got a great 2022 coming at you. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. Well, we've come to 2021. We've seen a lot of comic book movies.
We have. You're going to make me do this, aren't you?
I am going to make you do this. Again, it's fun. Everyone has lists. We did some lists last week. Let's conclude our list at that point of ranking the 2021 comic book movies that we have seen. So this includes Marvel and DC. We will start from the bottom up. What is your at the number 7 for you?
While there are movies on this list that I would rewatch less or be less likely to rewatch than this one, if I'm looking at overall quality of the movie and everything, I'm going to have to put Venom in the last spot. Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
As I will as well. I think one of my biggest things was, did I enjoy the fight sequence that happened? Yes. Was the movie incredibly short? That could have done a lot more. It was. So this is probably one that I'll probably see maybe one or two more times in the next year, but definitely one that I say, hey, I want to see Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Not there.
I mean, maybe before the next Venom movie, do a rewatch or something.
Yeah, probably. All right, what's at your number 6?
Number 6, I'm going to go Suicide Squad. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit, but ultimately I got to go there. For me, probably the biggest overall hang up with that movie is I just didn't care about most of the characters going into the movie. And while I did care about a couple of them coming out, that's what it boils down to for me.
Gotcha. Mine is Eternals. Really enjoyed. This was a very, as we've said before, a lot to chew on, a lot of characters to introduce. The more I sit on it, I cannot wait for when I do my second rewatch when it comes on Disney Plus. I think it'll grow in appreciation again. Just because it's number 6 doesn't mean, again, like we say with all these, some of them may be just a little bit more than others. I think that this movie will grow in appreciation as we see where the Eternals really fit into the MCU right now.
Yeah, that's one that'll probably age well. Mm-hmm. All right, well, number 5 for me, because we're theatrical only, right? We're just sticking with theatrical. Number 5 for me is going to be Zack Snyder's Justice League. I do have some issues with the movie, like even forget the whole baggage of the outside, but the actual movie itself, I do have some legitimate issues of it, but it has an advantage that, say, the Suicide Squad doesn't, whereas in general, I like those characters. I like Superman. I like Aquaman. I like Flat, right? And so that does help Justice League over Suicide Squad. Do I intend to watch it again? No, probably never. But that's where I'm putting it, number 5.
It's okay. Brent was so worried about that one. Again,
that is the closest thing I've ever done to giving a review of that movie, by the way.
Hey, there we go. And on a Marvel show, nonetheless.
That's right. Ridiculous.
My number 6 is Black Widow, the movie that brought us Marvel back into the theaters. I did have a good time with it. I really, in seeing Yelena again in Hawkeye, that movie had a lot of heart. A lot of heart. I think what I really enjoyed about that movie were our quiet moments, our non-action moments. That's what I really enjoyed about that movie, and I think that's one I've now seen 4 or 5 times, and I enjoy it. It's just the other movies that are ahead of it right now, I enjoy just a little bit more.
Sure. My number 4 is Eternals. Basically would echo what you said about the Eternals. I really like this movie, just not as much as the others. I do think it's going to age well. I'm looking forward to it coming to Disney Plus so I can watch it again. I will not be watching it that weekend because I'll be out of town the weekend it comes to Disney Plus. But once I'm back home, I will definitely give that one another watch. Probably a couple of them.
Yeah. My number 4 is The Suicide Squad. I laughed a lot in this movie, and I think what hurt me for it was this was a movie that I did not see in the theaters first. I saw it on HBO Max when it dropped early, then I saw it in theaters, then I saw it again before our review at that point. And that's probably the most I've seen a movie going into a review compared to most of the time when I'm lucky to see it just once. And I think that's because where the review fell was on a Saturday, not a Friday night. But
having it at home gives you extra time.
It does. It does.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, as I said in the review, some of the characters, take it or leave it, but I enjoyed what James Gunn did in this movie. It is pure James Gunn without really much of a filter at all. The interactions between Peacemaker and Bloodsport was great. I enjoyed Ratcatcher. It's a fun movie. It was a lot of fun seeing it, and I know Aaron had a great time watching it. We do talk about it from time to time, so it has stand the course of remembering for me.
That is one that I saw it in theaters. I meant to watch it again before it went off HBO Max. And it just never got around to it. I thought I saw something that it was back on HBO Max now. It is back. So yep. I need to find a time at some point to fit that in. My next one is going to be Black Widow. The movie that brought us back to Marvel at the theaters. Yes, it was the 563 days between Marvel projects, but it was 2 years. It was over 2 years between Marvel movies. And I really, really loved Black Widow. I thought it was just a great movie. Finally, Scarlett Johansson getting her solo title. Sure, fine. It would have been better if it had come out when it actually took place. Okay, fine. I don't care because I thought it was a great movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got it back. So, all right. My number 3 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Wow. That movie continues to impress me of what the amount of story they're able to bring a character that most people don't have any frame of reference for. Absolutely no frame of reference. I mean, it's one of those that Marvel is bringing those characters forward. That's one thing that I've enjoyed about Phase 4 is bringing characters in Phase 4 that either we have seen or have not gotten their time of day into the MCU. And Shang-Chi was a great way, an entrance into a different kind of world, a different kind of style of superhero that they are framing a big thing with those 10 rings with that end credit sequence, and they're positioning Shang-Chi to be a big player in the MCU moving forward. So bravo, Marvel. You did it. You did great with it, and it not only blew away the box office expectations for it, but it definitely blew me away.
Number 2, Shang-Chi. It was a movie that my viewing experience for that movie was unlike any other movie, really. I was lucky enough to get to see it a couple weeks early, and then I did the private rental because at that point, like for Spider-Man, the private rentals price doubled what it was, what we paid for Shang-Chi. And that was a lot of fun to get to go see a Marvel movie and like be friends with everybody that was there. That was really, really cool for me too.
And you got to see it early.
I did get to see it early. The movie itself, just absolutely incredible. And I don't have a ranking of like best action scenes in the MCU, but if I did, both the bus scene and the scaffolding scene are probably going to be up there. Like some of the coolest, most incredible action in the entire MCU. Not to mention the movie was funny. Simu Liu is just charming as all get out. I cannot wait to see more from the Shang-Chi characters.
Yeah, that cinematography, that fight choreography is top notch. I don't think they definitely have raised the bar on what expectations are for the sequel. My number two, this number one and number two were tough in the sense of thinking back, and again, you comparing what your list is to my list, you kind of figure what I've got left at that point. But in thinking, I really took a while to think about this one, what meant to me, and these can. It's basically, if they were a tie, yes, but if I have to rank it at that point, number two for me is Spider-Man No Way Home. I don't know what else I can say that I already haven't said on this show. Just because it's my number two there's a lot of love I have for this movie. When I found out, like the minute my notification went off that a Steelbook was ready to order on Best Buy, I clicked it, good, it's ordered. It's not even a question. That will be in my hands. And I'm not one of these, I don't get Steelbooks for everything. I get a Steelbook for a movie that's meant a lot to me. That movie really has significantly, seeing it for the second time when Aaron and I went last week, man, that movie, wow. That's a standard that Marvel, I was very surprised that could be just after a thing like Infinity War, Endgame, Winter Soldier. Man, it's something special.
Spider-Man No Way Home is my number one movie of the year. Who's surprised? The guy who loves Spider-Man more than any other character likes the movie with 3 Spider-Man in it the best. But they were taking a big swing with that one, and they just crushed it. This movie was like, just on paper, could have been a train wreck. And they just, anytime they could have made the wrong decision, they didn't. They made the right one. And it's just this incredible, incredible movie. I've only seen it 3 times. I'm at the point where I would like to try and find the time to see it again. And you would think, oh, but you're off work right now, you'd have more time. Yeah, but my kids are off school. And it's like, no, I don't have more time. I don't. And it's hard for me to beg the parents to take the kids to go see a movie for a 4th time. But I was looking at times tomorrow, even in the 12 o'clock show, like a 12 o'clock showing, not IMAX or anything, 90+% sold on it.
Wow.
I was like, are you kidding me? This late? Now, I didn't look at every screening. I'm sure there's others that aren't that way, but it's like a good sized theater and it's still nearly sold. I'm like, what's going on? It's a phenomenal movie. That's what's going on.
Week 3.
Spider-Man No Way Home. I don't know if I'll get to it again in theaters or not, but man, I cannot wait. That's one, unless I definitively know it's coming to Disney Plus or a streaming service that I have, I will buy this one on iTunes. And we don't know that at this point. So.
Yeah, I think the thing, March, I think they're saying from what I saw, like some people looking around some of the Amazon sites, looks like that's when it'll be starting to drop. So,
yeah, I can see that.
Yep. But all right, so my number one is Zack Snyder's Justice League. This was something that I was part of that campaign to see it light of day. It exists. It happened. Part of that movement. I definitely don't consider myself, I don't consider myself a toxic person at that point, but putting it out there, being part of that movement, and it was interesting enough, the day that it came out, we had a remote learning day because of extremely bad weather at that point, but
that's convenient for you.
It really was at that point. I was up at 3 a.m. when that movie dropped, and just being there for 4 hours at that point, watching all that stuff come to screen. Say what you will about how it came to be. bravo to Zack Snyder in getting, at least if this is the last time we see him directing in the DCEU, he put it out there at that point. I've revisited that movie 5 or 6 times. That will always be something that really rung a lot home to me. And to have Zack Snyder's Justice League and Spider-Man No Way Home in the same year, man, it was something special. So, but all right, so that is our ranking. That was our 2021 comic book movie ranking at that point, and we got a fun year coming up, everyone. It's new Disney Plus shows, new MCU movies.
The Legend of Morbius headed our way soon.
Yeah, we start off in January with the hierarchy of the MCU is about, the Marvel Universe is about to change. The new Avenger, the best Avenger, Morbius will be coming. So
29 days.
There we go.
Days.
I'm waiting for those tickets to go on sale. Let's go. All right, everyone. Again, Happy New Year. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.
See you later.